Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the World Team Championships Kill Team terrain for Kill Team. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Do you like it or not? Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below, an affiliate link Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support as well. But yeah, today I'm going over what I personally think is the best terrain for Kill Team, which is this new MDF terrain created by Bandua for World Team Championships. So they do a lot of MDF terrain in general, but they've personally designed this new set of terrain to use at the World Team Championships, but will also be used everywhere. You know, it's not just for the WTC, it's for everywhere else. But, you know, like WTC is quite famous, you know, for Warhammer 40,000. They have their own set of terrain as well as dedicated layouts. And now we have our own set for Kill Team, which is great because also this year, this is the first year WTC is hosting a Kill Team tournament alongside Warhammer 40,000. But yeah, I was lucky enough to receive a review copy. And as always, I aim to be honest and impartial and constructively critical. But yeah, I think this terrain is genuinely the best set of terrain we've had for Kill Team, and I'm going to go over why. Now, personally, I'm generally not a fan of MDF terrain. Just in general, you know, it takes a lot of time to set up. In terms of preparation, you have to, you know, seal it to stop it warping. Then, you know, the smell, I actually like the smell of lasered wood, but a lot of people don't. But then also it's not as durable as you'd like. And then sometimes, even when it's cheap, it's not correctly scaled for the game it's being played for. And like the only MDF terrain I've actually liked is the terrain by Dakota Luster's Workshop. Their Kill Team terrain has been amazing, and that's because it was custom designed for Kill Team. It wasn't just kind of designed technically for use for Kill Team, but also for other game systems. So if you decide to buy a Bandua terrain set, what do you get inside? Well, first you get 4 buildings, right? So each building has a hatchway in the roof, a doorway and a window, and you get 4 of these. Now they can either be built in one way, either all right-hand sided or left-hand sided, or a mix. So I believe for WTC they've all been built in one way, so they're all right-hand sided buildings. But for me, I built them left, two right, because that just makes the most sense. You also get 4 tall heavy walls, 4 light barricades, 2 light boxes, and then you also get 4 pillars with a wall piece, a door piece, and a window piece. Now, this has kind of been inspired by Octarius, but the cool thing about this terrain is being designed by Bandua with competitive Kill Team players and Kill Team in mind. So this set is kind of based off of Octarius, but instead of having an oil pump, you have the 4 pillars with the 3 wall pieces, which you can select, you know, assemble in a number of ways. But also, like, you know, the main criticism I've always had about Octarius is that it didn't have windows. So now they've added windows to Octarius, well, to this terrain system. So now you can't just hide most of your Kill Team behind a building for free while moving up the board. So there is some counterplay to that. And the windows really add a cool element to that. But interestingly, I actually have a full cost for everything. So not only do you get all of that, so that comes in at 79 euros, which is around $86 and about £70. Now, it does seem like a lot for MDF terrain, but the cool thing with this is it's already pre-printed in terms of, I don't know the process exactly, but Bandua has printed the designs onto the MDF. So it's already sealed and you don't need to paint it. All you need to do is glue it and build it together. And effectively, like, you can do that in an hour. It took me an hour, but the buildings I did in about 15 minutes. The main thing was actually building all the boxes and pillars, but it's really cool. Like, you don't have to paint. It's pre-painted. You just put it together and glue it. I mean, you don't even have to glue it. Like, it slots in really well. But I glued mine just for more durability. But you get 4 different designs. So I got kind of like the Adeptus Mechanicus kind of design, like the Mars pattern. But they also have a normal city fight type design, which is called Ferrum Vortex. So that's just your general, like, standard city fight type of terrain. You get more Nebula, which is your traditional industrial, like more grimy. So it's a dark gray overall. So it's basically like a Manufactorum. You also get Nala Prime, which is a more chaotic kind of design with chaotic symbols and, you know, signs of rust and, you know, mutation, which is cool if you're more of a chaos kind of player. And then you also get Neutigel Secundus, which is a more imperial urban design, right? So it's more like basically your standard Hive world. But those are the 4 main designs you get, and personally they're pretty varied in terms of like, you get some variability if you want that. I kind of like the Mechanicus version because it's orange and stands out. And then I also like the Chaos version because, you know, it's actually pretty cool with a lot of iconography. But that's actually a really affordable set, and it's cheaper than most Games Workshop terrain, considering what Octarius was going for around 80 quid and Beta Decima is 75. So this is £5 cheaper. You kind of get more terrain in my opinion in general, and also it's pre-painted. So it seems pretty durable so far, and I think it's a really good deal. Like, it's the main problem I've had when I've tried to make more terrain videos in the past is all of Games Workshop terrain is sold out and no longer in production. In fact, apparently, like, according to one of our local TOs in London, they were in a call like with GW with all the other TOs, and apparently like Octarius is completely out of production now. It's never coming back. All the season 1 terrain is gone. So it's just basically Into the Dark and Beta Decima and then what's ever in the future. So you can't even, like, even if I wanted to recommend people to buy Octarius terrain, they have to hunt eBay or like other like third party, like not even third party, like trying to hunt it online from people who are trying to sell it or stores that haven't sold it yet. And like, it's just a shame because Octarius is really good, although it's kind of aged a bit badly. So I'm really happy with this terrain. I've played it. I think it's really cool. I just love that it's affordable, accessible. Like, it's just, it's the terrain I've been wanting for ages. Personally, just because I can now recommend terrain for people to buy. Like, I can't even recommend people to buy Beta Decima if I was fully in love with it, because it's always out of stock. And you can't buy Into the Dark anymore because that's been pulled from sale. So, you know, it's just really frustrating how the terrain only has about an 18-month lifespan from Games Workshop. And this terrain set will effectively last until, you know, there's major changes with the edition or something, because WTC Terrain effectively lost the test of time unless they need to change it for some reason. And it's not just stopping with this open pack. Bandura's already designed an interior, basically Into the Dark version of MDF, which will be launching soon, I believe. And then I believe he's even working on Beta Decima style MDF as well. So even if you're not a fan of open, there will be more versions coming, but I don't know the price of those. Plus, also during the first month of pre-order, I believe you effectively get a free neoprene mat design for the terrain as well. So normally this will cost €20 separately, but if you pre-order the set during the first month as it goes up, well, today, the 20th of May, you'll get that map pack, or that map thrown in for free. Although I didn't get that, so I don't know the quality of that, but it's got like the traditional neoprene design where you've got the center of the kill zone marked out, as well as the diagonal long and short kill zone deployments. But as I said, if you just have a normal GW 30 by 22 inch cardboard, you can use that as well. That's what I used. And yeah, you know, there's also a pack for TOs and clubs. I believe if you order like the big pack, you get 5 sets of terrains with mats for about a saving of €100 compared to buying individually. So if you're looking to buy for a group, you've got access there. And I think that's just really cool. Like, even if you're not a fan of MDF terrain, so I know people will talk about the Troll Trader MDF terrain, which is about £25. The only problem with that terrain is not actually scaled for Kill Team properly, because all the buildings are actually quite short. They're about just over 2 inches tall, which causes huge problems for the game. And they're like, Octarius is just a bit weird because it's not really designed for Kill Team. Whereas this Kill Team terrain, every building is at least 3 inches tall. Like, it's all uniform height. The heavy walls are about 2 inches tall. And then the light cover barricades are about 1.5 inches. So it's all uniform height, all designed specifically around Kill Team and for competitive play and general play. And as I said, it's pre-painted and just like really easy to use. I will say there are some downsides about the terrain. So the main thing is, with the 3 pieces of heavy walls you get, one of the downsides is, like, I can see people breaking the doorway, because what happens when you push that into one of the pillars, I push it from the door frame, like the edge. If you just push it pillar to pillar, it will probably snap, because that, like, the top part is way too thin. And there are weird instances where, because the design's printed onto the MDF, some of the slits are just a little bit too tight, and I had to shave some of it off, or it naturally shaved off as I was putting it into glue. But now that's all set with the PVA, like, it's completely fine. You can't tell. Although I will say, like, building the blocks and the columns was a pain. Like, that just was annoying. They're mostly aligned, but I think that's just an MDF thing in general because, you know, unless you're trying to build with super glue, I don't think those pillars are going to hold easily while drying unless you rubber band them. But they dried well. They're completely intact, as it all with PVA. You get it all in a flat pack terrain. So you get like 3 sheets of flat pack terrain, and then it all just comes out together. You do get a lot wasted, but I guess that's how it comes out. My only other criticism is like the heavy walls have gaps for some reason. So they have like 2 semicircles and they're not flush on the ground, which is just a little bit weird. But otherwise, that's playable around it. I just love how the terrain is, like the buildings are really intelligently designed. So originally I didn't think the veins, like you get these outcrops of the building that I didn't think were necessary, because I was like, oh, you've got corresponding gaps depending if you build the buildings facing a right-hand orientation or left. But then these veins actually slot in to cover the gaps. So there's no gaps in the terrain. Like, it's just really smartly designed, and I just really appreciate it. I thought that was very cool. But enough about me gushing about the terrain. If you are actually interested in using this terrain and using it as its own, you know, for your games, I will be using this terrain at the Goonhammer Open in June at Leicester, and it will be when we run more Goonhammer Opens for Kill Team. This is the terrain we'll be using on map packs. So I've actually written up a map pack and designed it for use with Kill Team. So if you're either buying the terrain to use for yourself or prep for other tournaments with the Goonhammer Opens, because Travis from Just Another Kill Team podcast, him and Jason will be making their own versions for themselves, but also be used in the Goonhammer US Opens, and we'll combine our map packs eventually. So, you know, if you're using the UK or US, you get a variation of both, and then WTC will also have their own official layouts. But I'll quickly go through mine, as well as, you know, not just reviewing the terrain, but giving you another map pack to use. So yeah, this is my WTC Kill Team Terrain map pack. I will have links to this in the episode description below, and you'll be able to download this for free. So this will be live, and especially if you're going to the Goonhammer Open, you'll be able to, this is the map pack I'll be using. So talking through the terrain, these are the scale up, well, the heavy buildings you get inside the set. So they all have doors, right? I've shown the left-hand and right-handed orientation, right? So they all have doors, they all have windows, right? Which is really cool. And then also they have hatches. The tops of the terrain, you'll notice they don't go all the way around the top of the vantage point. So you only get 3 pieces, and those pieces on top of the vantage point are light. The rest of the terrain is heavy. They also have windows, which I'll get to in a moment. And then the other thing is, so for each vein that outcrops, the rest of the terrain is heavy, as so as these veins. But if they're touching a vantage point, they have insignificant. So, you know, you can't just go like, oh, I'm behind the tip of that vein, so now I have heavy cover, so you can't shoot me. None of that. But that's really cool. The thing I really like about this terrain, when you look up close, because of where the veins are on the outside of the building, you can actually punish people depending where you've placed the objective, so they can be shot from the wall. Because the cool thing about windows, it allows you, as long as you get within 2 inches, you can shoot them. So if someone's hid most of their team behind this building, they're going to have visible operatives that you can get to within 2, right? Which is really cool. I love windows so much. It's great. And as always, this building costs 2 white to climb because it's just over 3 inches tall. So the next part of the map pack breaks down how the terrain is played. So you effectively get all these grey pillars, which are all heavy. And then you get a heavy wall, which is heavy. You get a heavy wall with a window, which is heavy as well. And then a doorway, which is heavy. So I'll go through the doorway first. So it provides heavy cover, but also allows operatives to move through doorways without any movement modifiers or cost to movement. So effectively, they work like into the dark doors. So you can hide behind them to get cover, but you can also move through them for free. So it allows, depending where you put them in the map, allows you some more movement. And then the windows. So windows allow visibility and line of sight to be drawn through them, but are not traversable, right? So it's up to you how you want to play windows. I don't mind if you want to play them traversable, but generally I've spoken to TOs and they say windows wouldn't be traversable. So in the map pack, they are not traversable. But if you want to make windows traversable, it's your choice. But at the moment, they're not, But as I said, I've just clarified that windows allow you to draw visibility and line of sight. And you'll notice I've highlighted doors as green and windows as blue. And that'll make sense when it comes to the actual map pack. And as I said, each wall piece has 2 connectors on either side that plugs into 2 of the corresponding holes. So you actually get a lot of freedom in the way you want to design and set up your terrain. For the rest of the terrain, you also get 4 heavy walls. So they're heavy terrain, but I also rule them, at least in this map pack and at my events, gaps at the sides and the bottom of the heavy wall block visibility. Because the issue is these gaps are just very strange. So the problem is the base of the terrain isn't flush because it's not actually flush with the ground. And then you have 2 semicircles on either side of the heavy wall, but it just blocks visibility. So if you can draw visibility across, that's fine, but you can't be caught out by just seeing someone's gun or sword in either of these gaps. And then you've got 4 light barricades on the right, which are light and traversable. They're quite tall, but they're still light and traversable. And then also you get 2 crates in the map pack, well, in the terrain pack. And I play them as light and traversable if they're standing on their sides or on their front, right? If they're lying flat, they count as insignificant. But in my map pack, they either standing wide or standing tall, so they count as cover, because otherwise if they have insignificant, they're kind of pointless. So for map 1, it's sector, right? So this is all using crit ops, you know, so it's tells you what loot, secure, capture is, and it also shows you the crit op maps. I've also on every map lined out the drop zone, so the edge of the tape going towards the kill zone edge. So basically like going over is, so not going over, sorry, the tape is your drop zone. So if you're over the tape, you're more than, like if you're in the tape and beyond, you're more than 3 inches. So basically in this layout, as you can see, the doorway is marked green, where the green line is. The window is marked blue, where the window is. Right, pretty much simple. The other weird thing is, because this was taken all bird's eye view, for some reason, some of the terrain, like the bottom vantage point, looks like it's in the drop zone when it's actually on the yellow tape. So it's on the edge of the kill zone. It's just the width. I would have had to like either put this map pack on the floor while taking photos, or like somehow got a taller roof. That's the only weird thing. But it follows my general design principles for maps. So every map will have 4 objectives that are covered in a way by heavy terrain. And then you have 2 open objectives which have no cover. So you've got 2 open objectives on the middle objectives that are basically red from the drop zone. Those have no real cover. And then the left and right most objectives are, you effectively get heavy cover from the buildings or the heavy wall. And then the 2 left and right central objectives, they do get heavy cover, but to get heavy cover, you're in a spot where your opponent could move and dash and shoot you or charge you. So for example, if you do it on the right side and you hide behind the window to get cover to control the objective, your opponent just has to move within 2 inches and they can shoot you off. And it's the same on the flip side. So that's how the general principle of these maps go. And I've kind of scattered it around so you have most use out of the terrain while not making it too easy for people to move up. And then also in the map pack, if you haven't watched the video, I've also included just a reference sheet to help explain some gaps so you know what they're supposed to be. Like, as you see, A explains the gap, so between the pillar and the wall, picture A, so it allows a 40mm base to move around. Gap B allows a 32mm base to move around in picture B. And then in picture C, it just reiterates that the building is on the edge of the drop zone, is just the angle of the photo. Then for map 2, once again, very similar in a way. You've got 2 unsafe objectives and then 4 safe objectives. And, you know, you've noticed I've also changed the design of the central terrain piece with the wall, window, and door. You know, and I've also put one of the crates next to the heavy pillar. So interestingly, if you get cover from the pillar, well, if you get cover from the crate, you're always going to be within 2 inches of that heavy wall. So you're going to not benefit from obscurity. So it's kind of a trap crate, but it does provide some cover, right? But it gives you more counterplay from your opponent. So it's not exactly safe as it is, but you've got interesting points to move up. And the cool thing is, once again, on the left and right objectives, if you move up to get those objectives, you kind of have to either sit on the open side or in front of the window, so the opposing side has counterplay to take the objective back. And then once again, more clarifications of basically dimensions of what bases can fit through where the map is placed. Then we've got map 3 flank, which is using another Tetris design for the, you know, the wall pieces. And as you can see, you've got 2 open objectives in the middle where the other 4 objectives are quite safe. So should offer some interesting counterplay there. Then for map 4, straight, once again, we've got an L shape for, you know, the window wall place. And too safe and too open. If you try and get the middle objective near the bottom, you will be behind the window, which means you'll get shot. So you're risking moving up and getting shot. So I think some good counter play there. And then once again, this is just showing for map 4 what bases fit around where. So, you know, like a 32mm can fit around the top left corner. Down the bottom right, you can get a 25mm base, and in photo B, you can get a 40mm base around. For map 5, you've got another design there, right? So interestingly, this time I've made the 2 unsafe objectives in the top left and the bottom right. So you actually can't get any safe heavy cover from there. So it should offer some interesting plays while people move up to try and get, you know, get the terrain, well, the objectives. And then once again, the reference page for that mission shows what bases can fit around there. So it helps decide if you're the attacker defender, which side you actually want to pick. And then for boundary, the bottom left and the top right objectives are both exposed, right? So you've still got 4 other safe objectives, but then it's going to be a challenge to try and stay safe on those 2 open objectives. But should be an interesting way to move up the board in this long deployment. Then once again, another reference point showing that for this map, in picture A, all those buildings are actually at the edge of the kill zone, so no one can move around them, and just clarifying what fits where. Then in map 7 junction, right? So the 2 objectives that are red from the center of the kill zone are both in the open, whereas the other 4 are safe. And you've got, you know, interesting staging points depending on where you're hiding with that heavy terrain. And once again, more clarifications about what can move around there, you know, mainly 32mm, 25mm, and 40mm bases. And then for approach, the top left and bottom right objectives are the exposed ones, right? And the interesting one with this map pack, none of the buildings are actually on the drop zones. I've instead put both heavy walls in the drop zones, so you know you both have a center safe home objective, but to get to those vantage points, you're actually going to have to move out, right? So it should offer some interesting design, because you actually get a decent chunk of heavy terrain with this kill team. Well, sorry, with this terrain set, so you don't have to be locked into using vantage points on the edge of drop zones. And then once again for map 8, mainly clarifying where 40mm bases can fit. So because they're just showing like what base can fit around where. And then finally we have frontline, which is map 9, and the open objectives are the closest top left objective to the center line, and then the closest bottom right objective to the center line. So you've got interesting, very open objectives, while you've got a lot of staging points to move up. So you can either choose to try and capture those objectives or stage up for later turning points, so you can actually just steal your opponent's safer objectives. So it should be really interesting to play around as well. And then once again, for the final map, it's just showing you what the buildings fit around there. So as you can see, the top right drop zone, the vantage point is at the corner of the drop zone, so you can't actually move around that building. You'd have to move through the door and around it, and then, you know, just clarifying what bases fit around where. So yeah, overall, this MDF terrain set is pretty cool. Not only is it designed specifically for Kill Team, it's very affordable, especially if you buy during the pre-order period, which lasts a month. It's also pre-painted, and you get a variety of designs. So you don't even have to paint it, you just have to put it together, and like you can either glue it or not. Also, as I said, I prefer to glue it, but just really cool. You get a lot of terrain, and not only will this is the open set, we'll have an Into the Dark set and probably a Beta Decima set as well. So you're not just locked into one style of terrain. So it's really cool and future-proofed and specifically designed for the game. You just get so much, and it offers interesting ways to play because it's been designed with the help of like competitive Kill Team players. You actually see a lot of nuanced Kill Team mechanics in play when you play on these boards, because that was the cool thing about Octarius. Because it was specifically designed for Kill Team, the terrain actually had a lot of a function, because we had some problems when they added terrain that wasn't really designed for Kill Team. You could see its flaws. So because Kill Team really shines when it has terrain that you use, which is designed for it, and this is. So like, I think it's a really, really good buy. Because the cool thing is, so if you buy during pre-order period, not only is it 70 euros instead, you get a free mat, and that's from May 20th to June 20th. After that, it goes up to 79 euros without the mat. So it goes up to £65, and then I believe $80. So if you buy it now, I think that's like £60 or £65. I'm not too sure. No, it would be £60. Anyway, money. And then if you wanted the mat separately, it would be 20 euros after, like 19.95. But overall, I really think it's a good terrain set, value for money. The main problem, right, is MDF. but because it's pre-painted, you know, and it's pre-sealed, you skip the step of having to paint and seal and paint it. Durability, so far it's pretty good. The only weak point, as I said, was that wall door, you know, that connects to the pillars. But like the only downside as well, outside of that, is just sometimes the edges will shave off a bit because they're a bit too snug with the connectors, and building the boxes are a bit of a pain. But apparently that's just an MDF thing in general. But as I said, it's great. You can build the whole set in an hour. Like I managed to build it in an hour as well. So like all the terrain now is like purposely ready to use. I'll be using it all my tournaments going forward at the Goonhammer Open, and obviously on the battle reports. That's the terrain I'll be using now because why not? It's really good. And also, if you're playing a WTC or want WTC style terrain, this is the terrain of the World Team Championships. And I just think it's really cool. Obviously, the downside is you can't build them, well, you can't paint the terrain, right? So you can't really convert it up unless you just glue MDF to it. But I think that's a fair trade-off because obviously if you're scratch building your own terrain, you're not really going to get the same out of MDF. But if you're looking like terrain that can easily store away and quickly build and get playing with without having to spend all this time of painting and priming and like transporting it, you know, because this terrain is really easy to pack away and build and play. I think it's just amazing. And because it will effectively always be in stock, I can recommend it to people. So if you want to buy terrain, you can, and just go, instead of going onto the Games Workshop website and going, oh, it's all out of stock, right? So I'm a bit biased because obviously, even though I wasn't involved in the design of it, I played it and I really, really like it. You know, I can understand people may find it's a bit too stylized in terms of gameplay focused because, you know, it's very flat walls. It's not like nothing really textured as you can compare with other like printed terrain, but it's very affordable. And I think it's just a great value for money. But that's pretty much it for me. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you think of this terrain. Do you like it? Do you agree with me that it's the best kill team terrain that we have? Until we, you know, maybe get a new edition. And let me know if you're going to buy it yourself or interested in buying it, especially if you're going to buy it for a new club or gaming group. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description for free below, an affiliate Element Games, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And also I have the map pack down below in the episode description as well. But I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Willax, Tom, Super Cow, Sam, Nick, Kenzie, John Thomas, Graham, Freeman, David, Dave Meets World, Dad of Goldens, Ben, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sam Jither. Thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, I'll be back with another video soon. But this terrain is like really cool. Like I've had so much fun playing on it as well as designing map packs. Like me and Travis and Jason had a long call where we just designed these maps. So it should be a lot of fun, and they'll be doing their own video and podcast soon where you can check out their version of their map packs and what they think of the terrain, which is really cool. You know, like it's great. Kill Team is finally part of the World Team Championships, and now we actually have a dedicated set of affordable terrain that not only can we use for the WTC, but we can also use in general. I think that's just really cool why I like the terrain so much, because I can't tell you how frustrated I got every time I was like, oh, I'll make a new terrain video now for Kill Team, and then everything's out of stock repeatedly. So, you know, it's like they're even doing made-to-order terrain, which is just depressing. But it's really cool. I really love this Bandura terrain, and I hope you do too. But remember, no matter what terrain you're playing on, remember you always have a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.